I was bullied from pretty much the time I entered the school till the time I left.
We're calling him John. He went to St. Mike's, but we can't tell you his real name because even after 15 years, he says he fears repercussions.
So what was your reaction when you heard the news?
I wasn't surprised at all because I think that's just part of their culture. There were tons of like hazing incidents, bullying incidents. There was this incident where someone got tied to a football pole naked.
Violent and embarrassing events that he says staff and teachers knew about, but did nothing.
There was one incident where my mom went to complain to the school, and the principal's response was, "Boys will be boys. These things happen." And he said that I was lucky I didn't go complain myself because it would have made things worse for me.
CBC News spoke with current students who told us that hazing is very much a part of St. Mike's culture. They wouldn't go on camera fearing they could be targeted for speaking out. But they told us that one of the victims was bullied for weeks leading up to the alleged sexual assault that was caught on tape.
The school tells us that victim and the 3 others are all getting help. But John fears that, like him, they may have some lasting trauma.
I think it had a long-term effect. When I went to university, I specifically chose the university where I would separate myself from anyone I went to school with, and that helped a lot. But I do feel that it did have like a long-term psychological damage to me.
On Tuesday, St. Mike's will hold a meeting for all alumni to explain the chain of events that led to expulsions and the police investigation. The former student we spoke to says he plans to share his story of bullying and the long-term trauma it caused. He encourages other victims to do the same. Natalie, Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, you may have heard a lot of people use the word hazing to describe these alleged attacks. And while we do not know the nature or the reason for what happened, that word hazing can veil the truth. Ultimately, we're talking about sexual violence in school and team settings. Today, an expert told The National it's been on the rise in the U.S. and Canada for at least 15 years.
I believe that it's now something that's almost acceptable or normed within these teams. And I think the reason is that it is the quickest way to embarrass and humiliate someone. And therefore, they're maintaining the hierarchy, which is one of the main reasons that hazing occurs.
Bloomberg News concluded that more than 40 U.S. high school boys were reported sodomized with foreign objects in 2013. A decade earlier, the number was 3. It's an ugly, self-reinforcing cycle, says Michael Kasdan of the Good Men Project. Those who were once victims ascend to the role of alpha males, where they get to inflict harm on a new set of victims and put their own victimhood behind them. Wash, rinse, repeat. When a New Jersey high school fired football coaches for sexual violence under their watch, boys on the team spoke out for the coaches. So how do you fix this?
The top has to decide to put enough money and enough time and enough energy and decide that this is a really important, significant thing, and they want to change the culture in their school. Typically, I'd like to see several ways to report these kinds of hazings, and that would be anonymously, online, offline, places that know how to interview kids when they get these reports, doing it appropriately.
And what should you tell your kids?
Probably the most important thing they can do is to tell the kids, call me. Let me know if there's anything that you feel really uncomfortable about, and you know what that is. Please call me and tell me what's going on. That's number one. The other is we have to really educate the bystanders, the kids who've already been hazed but are not yet the perpetrators, that they have a responsibility and a duty to stop this.
It's hard for one person to safely intervene, but groups can be trained to stand up and say, this is wrong, stop it.